So guys, a quick heads up before we start. Today I'll be dropping a remix of an unseen video. Now I had to tone it down a lot just to get it out, and it's basically become a whole new video since about a dozen attempts all got blocked and led to some serious issues behind the scenes. But I'll explain everything that went down in a new series that I'm dropping this week, so stay tuned for that. And for now, enjoy the vid.
We need to all men.
I wondered why the security was trying to keep me back, and I think it's for my own safety.
When we ride at midnight, all men, we will spare the trans community.
Honestly, the virus isn't men fast enough.
The only people that are moaning are the loser men who have three tactics to go out and get a woman into bed.
My friends think I should trick him and stop taking my birth control.
Men have never been in control of our bodies. Clap if you think that she should trick them.
See, feminism did see accurately that we value male work more than we value female work. But there's also the issue that we value female life more than we value male life.
Do you think women should also have to register for selective service like men?
I have to think about whether I think it's necessary to go as far as our military.
When feminism becomes male bashing, that's toxic.
It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. They, quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
Y'all been trash. Y'all been trash. Y'all been trash.
You're all replaceable. Don't ever get too comfortable.
You know, there's a world of difference between a man who's a and a man who makes fun of girls' nights out. How can you actually lump them all together?
Yeah, I know that not every man is a but I think that every man benefits.
We want the species to go on, but we want it only to go on with women in it. Only to go on with women in it.
So obviously, there's a lot to unpack here, and I haven't even shown you the worst parts. You see, over the past years, feminism has drifted away from wanting basic rights and equality for women to simply tearing down men and women who do not agree with an ever-increasing set of radical beliefs.
Trans men are men. They are superior. They are elevated. They are on a higher level than the rest of men.
It's disgusting. I've read some of the things that people say it is, but I also have a gripe with you saying things like, well, men.
Not only is this alienating men from the movement, but surprisingly, more and more women are now also coming forward saying they are being targeted and harassed by feminists for simply thinking for themselves.
On the topic of sort of online, I receive a lot of it too. 75% of it, I would say, comes from women who are feminists.
If I'm honest, in the past week, I've probably received some of the worst comments from women calling themselves feminists. They're not empowering us or supporting us.
Rather than debating the merit of the issues addressed in the film, I became the target of a smear campaign.
This shows the utter hypocrisy of modern feminists, since they claim to give women a voice and stand up against oppression, but it's very clear that those women are only allowed to agree with the movement and should not dare to question anything or have any alternative political views.
That if you are pro-life, as I myself am, there is also no space for you in modern feminism. You know, the tent of modern feminism does not include Jewish women, it does not include conservative women, and it certainly does not include pro-life women.
You can clearly see how toxic the movement has become, and that it's not at all about women or equality, but simply about pushing a very specific political agenda.
If we're talking about feminism today, where it's become so radicalized, then I don't want to be associated with that movement.
Now, in addition to this, prominent feminists are openly calling for the of men, stating that the world would be better off without men. And the most insane part about this is that these feminists are not even called out on their bullshit, but they're actually being celebrated.
Good line, isn't it? Yeah, he can really write. I'm a bloody good writer.
The books that they write about hating men are called thought-provoking instead of what they actually are, which is simple misandry.
For me, this book is a provocation to permit a new way of thinking, to deconstruct patriarchy.
The idea that you should hate men, most people should hate men, I don't think it's about the patriarchy. The author said a visceral loathing of men is both natural and logical. In the Western countries, you have radical feminists saying that they hate men and that everything is so terrible, when in fact they've probably got it the best that they've ever had it.
Now, if you agree that there is a toxic movement against men, then please drop a like on the video and comment down below what you think. It is absolutely insane that people are cheering this on and don't see how this is a huge problem. Because if you change the word men in a book with the title I Hate Men to literally anything else like black people, Jews, women, gays, or transgender, then you will literally start a World War III. However, writing books about hating men, that is somehow brave and it's perfectly okay. Now you would think that we've reached peak insanity at this point, but no, it gets much worse than this. Because modern feminism, which claims to be against violence and wants violence against women to stop, believes that the answer to that lies in more violence against men.
Yeah, I think is okay.
The suffragettes in the early 20th century, they used violence. They thought what they were fighting was a civil war between the sexes.
You know, slave rebellions. I mean, there are many causes where people have resorted to violence as a way to finally break through and get heard and achieve what we need. And if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Any man that you see, like in the streets, like any just...
Not only is all of this absolutely disgusting behavior, but it's also very hypocritical, since feminists are the ones who say they want to end violence and create a better, more fair society. But somehow in this wonderful utopia, violence against men is perfectly fine, and the movement is not speaking out against it at all.
Feminism has spent the last 50 years demonizing men, which is sort of one of the problems.
The force for all oppression, we can call that essentially men, patriarchy, right? And we can call the force for good and justice women. And that kind of language, that has no implications.
Now the main reason why feminism is becoming more and more toxic is because of the very effective use of basic propaganda that is deliberately using bad data and omitting crucial information.
In many industries, the gender pay gap has been shown that it's not been equal.
No, that's not equality. We need to be really careful about this. The gender pay gap and equal pay are not the same thing. If anyone dares to say they are, they're misrepresenting the statistics to women.
I think women are intrinsically valued on a higher level to men because it's the women and the children that are always protected first. It's the men that are sent off to war. It's the men that are more disposable.
Most of the standard feminist injustice statistics are exaggerated or just plain wrong.
You see, if you constantly bombard people with false information, you can easily create a narrative that the whole world is against women and that every single man is either exploiting you or abusing you, and that you will never ever be successful unless you destroy the patriarchy.
We talk about the so-called patriarchy, but it's women who are valued more than men.
Men have to be the only oppressor class in history who are less educated, more victimized, and have shorter lives than those they oppress.
They're given medals and statues and written in the history books to justify them dying and being slaves to work or being used to progress societies.
So you see, by feeding into this victim mentality, radical feminists are pushing feminism towards a more extreme ideology that is focusing more and more on tearing down men and less on making men and women equal.
That's toxic. Yeah. I think a lot of us hear, oh, I'm a feminist, and I don't think they realize that that means fighting for equality. It doesn't mean that one is actually better than the other. And the moment that you start to bring down the man, then you're no longer equal. Then you are doing the exact same thing, just on the opposite side.
Now, even though many feminists see this as a win, it's having some serious drawbacks for the movement, because not only is this new wave feminism pushing away an ever-increasing group of women.
When I think of a feminist, I definitely don't picture myself. I don't feel like I need to go fight for rights that I already have.
I wouldn't identify as a modern feminist because I don't really feel any affinity for third wave feminism, any way, shape, or form.
Lauren, are you a feminist?
No. When I hear the word feminist, from what I see in the media, I kind of look at it as a victim kind of mentality.
We were really surprised at Refinery 29 at how few millennial women actually identified as feminists. It was something like 46%.
How can you actually be surprised by this? I mean, when you write books about hating men, start shouting down with men and all men, or that all men are racist, then yeah, no shit, a lot of women are going to resent that. It is also one of the main drivers behind the need for male right groups and the manosphere in general.
Do we need a men's rights movement? No, we need common sense. But if there's going to be this women's movement, and this is the movement that's going to do all these things, then maybe we need a counterbalance. They call the men's men's rights movement or a men's movement.
This increase in male rights groups and men speaking out has not gone unnoticed by feminists, and they are pushing back hard. However, by trying to suppress the very legitimate concerns that men have, these feminists are pushing against their own messaging, which was that men are lacking in emotional intelligence and they need to speak up about what's bothering them, which is exactly what these male rights groups are doing. But these extreme feminists don't want this, which is why when anyone tries to hold a civil debate, lecture or meeting to simply discuss the topic, they are faced with attacks and are heavily protested against.
But there have been protests, not with the intention of shining light on men's issues, but rather with the goal of silencing any discussion of men's issues. When Professor Janice Fiamengo attempted to give a lecture that questioned the feminist narrative.
So you think this is a victory? Why are you so frightened of hearing an opinion different from your own?
Toxic feminists are trying to cancel every single male rights group by claiming that they are just a bunch of right-wing, women-hating racists.
These so-called men's rights groups are actually hate groups.
Every time men's rights groups try to pass joint custody legislation, feminist groups fight them. They fought us on paternity fraud. In Sweden, they tried to create a man tax.
So you're just too busy women. If you're a hate group.
They're the same people who believe in Donald Trump. Like, do you really want to see them around here?
Even though if you were to do just 5 minutes of research, you would find that these groups are simply focusing on real-world issues and that many prominent online speakers are either black men or women.
Opposition that I have faced has been from the radical feminists that said, we don't want truth to be the standard. And in countries like France, they're saying, well, DNA should mean do not ask. Because it's now illegal to even get a test. And if you get a test without the mother's permission, you will be criminally prosecuted.
And so it seems highly unlikely that they are all just a bunch of women-hating racists if so many women and black men support the movement. This was the hypocrisy in modern society. Please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos.